Suzy Welch is a professor in management practice at the NYU Stern School of Business and author of a hot new book called Becoming You, the proven method for crafting your authentic life and career. Thanks for being in studio with me. I thoroughly enjoyed the book.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Do you remember the last time we were in studio together?
I think so. I think it was for a book tour when I was with Jack, and maybe it was Real Life MBA or Winning What?
Let me jog your memory.
Okay.
Do you recall the two of you waking up and looking at naked pictures of me and then coming into my radio studio?
You know, that has mercifully escaped my memory.
It has. That doesn't stand out in your mind.
I am so terrified.
Okay, let me remind you.
Oh, my God.
You woke up at the Four Seasons in Philadelphia. And by the way, this is all according to you and Jack.
Okay, go ahead.
You woke up at the Four Seasons in Philadelphia, and the magazine market was more robust at the time, and those who were overnight guests at the Four Seasons would be provided the latest edition of Philadelphia magazine.
Okay.
For reasons still unclear to me, I had posed naked for the magazine. It was a big subject at the time. The two of you, knowing nothing about any of this, were flipping through the magazine, looked at my picture, and then realized this is the guy we are going to see.
I've blocked this, by the way.
I had absolutely forgotten that.
Jack made a huge to-do over the fact that, like, you're the naked guy.
But can I just make sure, because we have a lot of company in the studio at the moment, when you say naked, it was a rear shot. Like, when you
full
say...
body.
I understand it was full body nude, but it was rear shot, and I think that's really important distinction. Thank you.
Some things were left to the imagination.
I'm offended by the fact that Suzy Welch doesn't remember that. I'm going to have to think about it. I have to think about that.
I think that it was just such an overwhelming experience that I'm still processing it. Let's put it that way.
Welcome to my area of transcendence.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, this is my area of transcendence.
For sure.
This is where my values and my aptitudes and my economically viable interests all intersect.
Yes.
What am I talking about?
All right. This is what the word that I use in my methodology for purpose. That's what the more common phrase is. I think that it's a little bit different because with area of transcendence, you are living your purpose plus you are connected to something bigger than yourself. When Maslow created the hierarchy of needs, everybody go back to high school for a moment. At the very top, there was self-actualization. And then he went back about 15 years later and he said, you know what? People who are really, really living their purpose are also connected to something bigger than themselves. They're giving back. There's an element of service to what they're doing. Then they are in transcendence. And so the purpose that my methodology leads you to is that kind of purpose. And without a doubt, you are in it. You can just tell by looking at you.
So sadly, you lost a giant of an individual, went through a tough period, spent a lot of time in the woods and walked the dogs. And ultimately, this is the product of your kind of coming out of that time period, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you're referring to the loss of my husband, Jack, in March of 2020. I had been thinking about and working on this methodology for many years before that in my role as a broadcast journalist and as a writer and as an author and so forth. But then when I lost Jack, it was right at the beginning of COVID. It was actually March 1st. And, COVID sort of hit America 2 weeks later. And I went up to the woods of upstate New York with my kids and their partners and all of our dogs. And then the world started again, but I did not. And mercifully, I was asked to come back onto the Today Show where I was working at the time. And I thought, I do want to come back to the world. I do, but not this way. Maybe it's time for me to take this methodology that helps people figure out what to do with their lives in this time where there was the pandemic raised a lot of questions about where we work, how we work, why we work, with whom do we work. And I had a way of helping people sort that out. So I brought it to the dean at Stern, who I knew from my previous life. And he said, well, let's try this as an experiment. And here we are, sitting here together.
And it's an immensely popular course.
It is.
You teach this course. Essentially, and I don't want to minimize it, but you're teaching a course to help college students find their path.
Yes, and actually I teach it mainly to MBAs and executive MBAs. I have taught it to college students, but my sweet spot are people sort of 20 to 35, and then with the executive MBAs I've taught it to people up to 68 years old.
Is the formula something, and I have the chart in hand, but is the formula something that you already had in mind, or as a result of all that deliberation,
I had been working on it for years. I mean, I had been I had a show about careers on CNBC, and I had been the careers columnist for Oprah. And so I had been working on this for a long time. When I got into the classroom and then I started to have hundreds and then thousands of pieces of empirical data, I refined it, created the tools that went with it and so forth, and really fine-tuned the methodology to what it is today. But I entered the classroom with the methodology, and it has been, let's say, refined and elevated a lot.
So the short version is that you need to figure out what are your values. You argue in the book the book is titled Becoming You.
Yeah.
You argue that people really don't even understand what's meant by values because the word has been hijacked. What are values?
Okay,
Give me a couple of values.
I will tell you, there are 15 personal values. And
right.
Usually what happens is people say, I have research that shows that 17% of people, that's it, know what values even are, and only 7% can identify their values. Values are, as a word, progressive values, liberal values, Christian, blah, blah, blah. Nobody really knows what values are. So values are the deeply held beliefs that galvanize our actions and decisions. There's 15. You could get a bunch of social scientists
Such
together.
As?
Okay, family centrism, work as a family as an organizing principle. Beholderism, that's the value where you really, really care about how things look, including yourself, okay? There's scope. That's a value that measures how big or small a life you want. Do you want a big, exciting life? I know somebody with high scope who says, I want to touch everybody's brain, versus low scope. I don't know if you watch TikTok, but, I like this little life. A life that's contained and controlled. That radius is a value. How much do you want to change the world? Non-civi is a value. How much do you want your life organized around helping people? Luminance is a value. How famous do you want to be? Okay, there's affluence, which is money. And usually people just name 2 of those, but there's 15. And
so you've got to determine what are my values, what's
Yes.
important to me.
Yes.
Then aptitudes, I think we know what that means. But
okay, let's stop though for a second. I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
About values. People hear that there's 15 values and they say, oh my God, how do I find that out? I have a test. It's free. Go to my website and you can try it. It's called the Values Bridge, all right? You can find out what your values are today. Okay,
well, then
just FYI.
Right,
FYI.
Let's just stop there. I took your test.
Okay. Oh, good.
I am a thresholder.
Oh, good. I'm not surprised in the slightest.
What is a thresholder?
You are in your area of transcendence, you're one breath away from it. You are living at the intersection of your values, your aptitudes, and your interests. You're exactly where you should be. There's maybe one thing you should tweak if you're a thresholder.
So my authenticity gap, I tried not.
Yeah, what is it?
12 out of 100.
Yeah, it's very rare to see lower.
There are a lot of aspects of my life that need improvement. But no, for sure. I took your test and I took it straight. I didn't lie.
All right.
But relative to my professional objectives, which I think is your focus, I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah.
I felt pretty good about how I scored my conflict analysis.
Yes.
There's my conflict analysis. And everybody can go to your website at SuzyWelch.com.
Or just type in the Values Bridge and you'll go to the landing page for it. And this authenticity gap, look, this tells you how far away you are from living the life you want. 12 is very good. I mean, you're right. A few things could be tweaked. To see somebody it's like cholesterol. You want it to be very low. You want the gap to be very low between the life you want and the life you have. I mean, I very rarely, even I'm an 11 and I teach this stuff. Okay. So you and and you want to tweak a little stuff.
Is Professor?
Yes.
Is this for someone who's in the MBA program or the undergraduate who is interning for me? Actually, she's in high school and about to become an undergraduate. Or is it for somebody who's 40, 50, 60 and hey, I still don't have it figured out?
It's for everyone. I have actually given it to people who are writing their wills. They're so old and they are in the point of their life where they need to know their values so they can write good wills. I mean, we've had people who have taken it from 16. I think our oldest person is 78. Thousands of people have taken it. And it's designed to meet you exactly where you are. My students love it, but I teach workshops of people who come from around the world at every age, and they all take this test. I've worked years on it. It is scientifically validated. It's the subject of my PhD thesis. I mean, it's a good test.
I interrupted you.
Yes.
So again, and the whole book explains this in detail.
Yes.
It's called Becoming You by Suzy Welch. You've got to figure out what's my area of transcendence. These overlapping circles, one is values,
Yes.
another is aptitudes. That's where I interrupted. When you speak of aptitude.
Okay. So there's cognitive aptitudes, what your brain is wired to do. Are you a generalist or a specialist? Are you a future focuser or present focuser? Do you like processor ideas? Okay, those are the big 8 cognitive aptitudes. You can be tested for those. I don't personally have a test, but there are very good tests online for that. But here's the thing. True or false? have you ever seen anybody be very good at their job or very bad at their job because of their personality?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah, sure.
I agree with you. I think that personality is part of our aptitudes. And yet very often we do something so dumb, I'll say it. And that is that we believe that our personality is what we think we are. We think I'm kind, I'm compassionate, I'm a good listener, I'm very generous. And that may be true, but it may not be true. What we need to find out is how the world experiences us. Now, we can spend our whole lives figuring out how the world experiences us. Eventually, people who love us will tell us. Sometimes they tell us by leaving, okay? Or sometimes they tell us by being hurt. But we need to find out how the world experiences us. And so part of what the Becoming You process does is help you come to terms with your personality, not with what you say it is, but with what the world is telling you it is.
You are at NYU Stern School of Business. I have a buddy at NYU Stern School of Business. That would be one Scott Galloway.
That's
He's
correct.
a frequent guest of mine on CNN and on this program. And we had this dialogue recently where Scott says it's BS to say, chase your passion. Instead, he says, figure out what you're good at. You'll become passionate about it. What does Suzy Welch say about that?
Far be it from me to disagree with the great Scott Galloway. I think he's a genius, and I can't touch the hem of his skirt, okay? I greatly revere him. I 100% believe that he is correct saying don't chase your passion. That's dumb because, sure, you want to be a rock star. What if you just can't sing, right? You've got to be good at it. I'm not sure that just doing what you're good at is enough. I do believe you have to bring your values into it because you can be real. I happen to be crazily quite good at math, okay? But none of my values are aligned with having a career in math or science, all right? So I like to bring into it what your values are. Those aren't your passions. Those are your values. And I think interests are also important. So I think he's right, but I would add two components to what he's saying.
I went down a rabbit hole with the appendices of your book this weekend. So 6 squared.
Yeah.
What is 6 squared?
6 squared is one of my favorite exercises that I do on the road when I'm teaching this on the road or in my workshops or in class. It's an exercise where you write the title of the memoir of your life as if you just finished writing your memoir today. Okay, I was born and today's my last day. Oh my God, I want to hear yours. And you write the title of it. And then you stop, you pause, you allow yourself to imagine, something we never do, allow yourself to imagine your perfect life over the next 25 years. Picture that life in your head. Then write that book and write the title of that book. Then compare the two.
Okay, so first, my life to date in 6 words.
Let's hear it.
Incredible stories, most of them true.
All right. Well,
that is how I view my life.
Love it.
At this stage.
Okay.
Any analysis?
not until I hear the next one.
Okay, so I actually came up with 2.
Oh.
Actually came up with 2,
All right.
but I'll give you the first one.
I want to
You
hear
always
'em.
said you wanted it to be spontaneous. I finally found time for reflection,
Oh, okay. So good. Okay. What's the other one?
and now I can finally breathe.
Okay, these are very aligned. Okay, and what I'm hearing in the gap.
Yeah,
between,
please analyze me.
Okay, yes, I love this. This is the tarot card reading, a part of my job. I think that look with the first one, you're talking about this building of your career. You're hearing stories. You're telling stories. You've had a lot of
Experiencing stories.
Yes, and you've had a lot of momentum. Okay,
Yeah.
most of them are true. In other words, you're sort of processing some that may or
Some
may
are
not be
bullshit.
true. Right, exactly. And you're not sure which ones are when they're coming at you, but you're living in the present. That's what it tells me, is that you're processing a lot of stories, living them, hearing them. Some are true, some aren't. Why? Because you're operating in the present. Then you flash forward to your perfect life 25 years from now, and there's 2 things going on. You want to stand still. You want to reflect. You want to breathe. You want to hear before you speak.
Right.
And so what's missing? So I would say, I'm going back to your authenticity gap score, your happiness gap score. There's something missing, and it's probably around the value of scope. You may want to scope your life down rather than up. Something has to be tweaked to get there.
A buddy of mine sat in that chair a week ago. He's a very successful business person, a sponsor of this program. Give a shout out to my friend Steven Singer. And he said to me, you need a things not to do list.
Yeah, that's right.
But if I need a things not to do list, look at you. You need a things not to do list.
Well, I say no to more stuff than you would be. I say no to some things. I like my life, and I'm off the charts on scope, and I'm off the charts on radius. These 2 values that represent how big a life you want and how much you want to change the world. And I'm high on those, and I'm unleashing.
Appendix B.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a call segment on this when you're gone.
Okay.
Okay. This is gonna be the final half hour of today's program.
Okay.
Because I struggled so much with it, and yet I think people will have so much fun with it. whose life do you want anyway? Okay, and so, and what you're supposed to do is identify the person, explain what you love, what you like, or otherwise covet about this person's life, and then in another category, no thank you, what are the downsides? So, for example, someone identifies Elon Musk, incredible entrepreneur who leads companies driving market solutions to the climate crisis. No thank you, public feuds, Twitter takeover, political views. What's the point of this exercise?
Okay. I love this exercise. It's one of the most powerful ones I do in classes and workshops. Look, sometimes we have trouble getting in touch with our values, and I have to sort of trick people into figuring out what their values are. And this exercise comes out of an absolute gigantic fight I had with my son who couldn't find a job, and he didn't know what he wanted to do. And finally, I screamed at him, whose life do you want anyway? And this has a way of stripping away our defenses. So you list down all the people. If you had to change lives with somebody, whose life would it be? The more people you put down, the better. Okay, 5, 6 people is very good. And then you put what you wouldn't want about their lives. This is what I want. And if it's, you got to tell the truth. I want their money. I want their gorgeous wife. I want their legs. I want their fame. I want their peace and quiet. I want their self-reflection, whatever it is. And then what you wouldn't take, okay? Then you look for patterns. And sometimes your values pop that way. You wouldn't tell it to yourself, but when you look at whose life you would go for and why, you start to see very powerful patterns. I've had kids, in their 30s, going into jobs in corporate America. Then they do this exercise, and every single person they've put down is an entrepreneur. And they look at the pattern and they go, oops, okay, I'm on a conveyor belt. And I've completely lost touch to what I really want. And guess what? That conveyor hits a wall when you're around 55 years old.
The point of the book, Becoming You, is we're all in search, okay? Here for a short time. We don't want to waste any of it. We want to spend our time wisely. Fine. And what the book is sort of a formulaic approach. I don't want to make it sound boring. It's not. But an approach, guideline, guardrails, to help you figure out what you ought to be doing.
Look, we always ask this question: what should I do with my life? We are always being told, go do what go find your purpose. This is a methodology. It's fun. It's robust. I mean, I'm proud that it's a academic, academically grounded. It helps you figure out what to do with your life.
Yeah, I get it. I know how you did it too. I even listened to the interview with your trainer.
Oh, that was fun.
This is you're going to think this is a cop-out because I don't have a single name. And then I thought, I can't sit there with Suzy and tell her I couldn't come up with a single name. So what I at least did was I listed the attributes of what I would be looking for.
Yes.
In that person's life, okay?
Here's what I want to tell you something. When I find people who are very close to their area of transcendence or in it, they have trouble with this exercise.
Okay.
Okay. When somebody has a happiness gap score that's like 98%, and believe me, I see those all the time. People who do my test and it comes out, that list is chock full.
Okay, but I'm not as happy as your book makes me feel I should be.
Well, I can't help you there, but I think that you are, it's all relative. You are happier than most people with those scores, and that's important for you to know.
Appendice 3, the Proustian.
Yes.
Questionnaire, which they used to use in Vanity Fair. Maybe they still do.
They might.
So I struggled with some of them, but they're my answers to these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone in particular you would like to know? Where would you most like to live? What is your favorite virtue? What is your idea of happiness?
That's it. That's the one I want to know. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Health, stability, security, meaning financial security.
Yeah, these are all values. Okay, so the thing about the questionnaire, which used to be a parlor game in France and in England back in the days when people had times for parlor games, has a very uncanny way of popping values patterns. And so it's you sort of go through it and you start filling it out, and suddenly you start seeing recurring themes again and again, and they hit you in the face.
Yeah, I have to ... slow down.
Yes. Oh my God, this is all part of a piece.
How about this one? You'll maybe get a kick out of this. I will never apologize for voting for Barack Obama.
Okay.
Like, F them, right? TC knows. I am never sad when I'm in London.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you feel when you're in London that you're slowing down a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Favorite pastime?
Yes.
Smoking.
Oh, really? Like cigarettes?
You said that with some disappointment in your voice.
No.
Cigars.
Okay, but
at the end of the day,
but here's
I
the
love
thing.
smoking that cigar.
What are you doing when you're smoking the cigar? You're stopping. That's right. You're like textbook. I could tell a story about you to my students. It's so textbook.
I'll come and lecture.
Please.
Character trait you most abhor. What do you say for that?
Inauthenticity.
Inauthenticity.
I hate phonies.
Okay. Disorganization. That's
okay.
mine.
Okay, because you know why? Disorganization is chaos, and you are like presenting as a person who is wanting to shut down the chaos and spread of your life. That's what I'm feeling.
What is your mantra? What's your mantra?
It's better to be the author of your life than the editor.
It's better to be the author of your life than the editor. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, we have so many editors. I used to say when my kids were growing up, and everybody would want something different from me. Jack wanted something, the kids wanted something, my bosses wanted something. I used to say there's a lot of shareholders in Suzy Incorporated, and I eventually finally put the pen of my life in my own hand and became the author of my life, and I highly recommend it.
What talent would you love to have? What's your answer?
I'd like to be able to sing because
I said musical instrument.
Oh, okay. But when I'm in church, people literally turn around and say to me, we can hear you.
That's
how bad it is.
I mumble.
Okay.
I mumble because I know I can't do it. Then I had this idea recently where I said, it's because I'm mumbling. What if I really sang? Maybe I do have it and I don't.
No, you do not. You would know by now. I think people with good voices know.
Yeah.
Right. I'm very bad, but I love to sing, and then I destroy people's experiences in church. So bad on me.
What is your greatest achievement? What would you say?
My kids. My kids. I had Mother's Day yesterday, and I thought, okay, I screwed up so many ways. I worked nonstop. Everything you could do wrong, I did wrong. But man, them loving me. Pff.
In life, I am most grateful for
my faith, probably. I mean, without that, nothing's possible. But my marriage to Jack would be right there also.
All right. Now I'm embarrassed to tell you.
Okay, what'd you have? Like what? A good cigar? What'd you have?
No, my zip code.
Well, I mean, that's
now,
a proxy.
I want to explain that. I want to explain that because
hear it.
I'm really fortunate for opportunity that has come to me that I don't think would had my parents remained in the coal regions of northeastern Pennsylvania, sadly in a town that was on the decline.
Yeah.
I don't think the opportunities that have presented themselves to me would have come my way. So
yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I think you're talking about how much you are grateful for your opportunity, for your parents.
The opportunity that was afforded to me because of the interactions that I've had with people that I've met along the way.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That wouldn't have happened otherwise.
And I have all sorts of ideas about what values that probably presents. Do you remember you took the test? Did you know your top 3 values? Can you remember your top values?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Memory is one of my
no, that's
deficiencies.
the thing you missed the most. Okay.
Where would you most like to live?
New York City. I mean, I love Philadelphia. I do. I love visiting my best friend here. But I'm a New Yorker. I'm from Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And when I landed in New York finally, I thought, oh, here's where I was meant to live.
Yeah. Real life heroes.
I'd say my husband Jack was my real life hero. But I have so many heroes. Dolly Parton is a hero of mine. I adore her. But just because she's good in every part. Who's your hero?
So I said George Herbert Walker Bush, Papa Bush.
He's in the book.
Yeah.
I mentioned him in the book because
definitely.
Jenna tells a story about him. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I also said Churchill.
Okay.
And I said a couple of admirals, McRaven and Stavridis.
That's legit. Okay.
Yeah, and I couldn't differentiate that from what person, living or dead, do you most admire?
There's overlap, heroes and admiring. Yeah, I mean, you could have both there, and it gives you just another opportunity to talk about what kind of traits you aspire to.
The book's great.
You're great.
I really, I enjoyed it, and it was valuable to me as an affirmation. In many respects, I think that's good. Like, you don't have to be in search of to take something out of it. Maybe you just need a little sanity check.
I mean, sometimes people just take it for confirmation, to tweak or whatever.
Confirmation. That's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much.
So I wish you all good things with it.
You're great. Thank you so much.
You told a funny story to me before we came on air, which is we were remarking about, doing interviews with people who do. I'm not looking for a pat on the back, but without naming the person or outlet, you said you did an interview recently with somebody who hadn't even read the flap.
Yep, I know that's a very interesting experience.
I know that feeling.
It's a roller coaster ride. Let's just put it that way.
Well, the other thing is, I know what it's like when somebody says, like, well, okay, Suzy is here, and I'm going to talk about current events, and then I'm going to mention a question at the end about the book. But the book is legitimately great.
You're legitimately great. Thank you very much.
It's a
labor of love.
You don't remember looking at those pictures?
Suddenly it's coming back to me. It's coming back to me.
Okay. Suzy, thank you. Wish you all good things.
My great pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.